The bombing of the military commander, Fomin Tatarsky, very precisely coincided with the scandalous Russian presidency of the UN Security Council, and it is hard to believe in the randomness of such a coincidence. And if both events are connected, several Russian plans in this regard loom. Let me remind you that the explosion occurred at about 18 o'clock, in the St. Petersburg Café Street Food Bar No. 1, owned by Yevgeny Prigozhin. Prigozhin gave it to the Cyber Front Z movement, which held meetings of its discussion club there. Plans at the UN and at the international level. The minimum program is to drown out the unpleasant topic of Russia's seizure of the USSR's place in the UN and in the UN Security Council by condemning Ukrainian terrorism. The seizure, let me remind you, was carried out in gross violation of the UN Charter, but the West, planning to outsource the post-Soviet space to Moscow, which it then considered its puppet forever, chose not to notice it. There were other tasks on the agenda, for example, the seizure of nuclear and, if possible, non-nuclear weapons from Kiev, and its transfer to Moscow. Moscow in the West was then considered firmly on the hook. Obviously, an attempt will also be made to shake up the topic of immediate peace talks in the UN. They say, otherwise terror will cover Europe. Such a play into the hands of China should, according to the Kremlin's plan, mix up the unpleasant impression made on Beijing by the plans to deploy nuclear weapons in Belarus. And, in general, Russia needed to somehow make a mark on its presidency, and its starting positions for this today are not at all good. Having pushed off from the corpse of the Tatar military commander, Moscow can try to shake up some kind of activity. The program is the maximum, with the transition to Europe, promotion of the theme, Ukraine as a terrorist state, already in full, with squeezing the maximum possible out of it. For example, the postponement of the delivery of fighters to Ukraine, which has not been officially announced, but in fact has already been resolved. The common task is to create maximum obstacles at the political level for a large Ukrainian offensive, which Moscow is frankly afraid of. It will not be possible to disrupt it, but some individual operations, apparently, will work. It's not a pity to spend a small bandit famine for such a task. A whole range of tasks is visible here. Firstly, another terrorist attack, to which the Ukrainian trace is already being screwed, is another argument in favor of lifting the moratorium on the death penalty. It's hard to say whether this will work right now, but the time for death sentences has clearly come, and they are putting weights on the scales. And even without the death penalty, the Russian Philistine needs to be kept in good shape, so that he fears and hates Ukrainians and clings to the leg of the authorities. In this regard, St. Petersburg is a rather ambivalent city. On the one hand, the Nazis' positions are traditionally strong in it. On the other hand, proximity to Finnish supermarkets generates a stable cheese-sausage European spirit, which has now become irrelevant. Well, on the third side, the patriots are also pretty overzealous, and St. Petersburg supporters of the letter Z will not hurt to push into place. Otherwise, they have become very active. They allow themselves to criticize the authorities for indecision, and they cluster too much around Yevgeny Prigozhin. Meanwhile, the Russian authorities do not like any gatherings now, rightly believing that all of them, both anti-war and Nazi-patriotic, are anti-Kremlin in nature. And if so, then the authorities prefer to limit and virtualize any gatherings. The prospect of being hit by another terrorist attack is an excellent argument to stay at home, or to participate, if you really want to, by video link. Yes, and Prigozhin will not hurt to pull back, so that he does not get too stuck up, and does not rush to the presidency. This place is still occupied. Important. Prigozhin and emptiness. What will China and the United States reconcile on, and why will Taiwan wait? Propaganda also needs another dead hero whose corpse has not had time to rot. With the long-playing image of Horst Wessel in Russia, it will not work out in any way. The Wessels turn out to be short-lived. They decompose in a month or two until they are completely unusable, which makes it necessary to sacrifice another lamb. The operation with Daria Dugina did not go at all. The holy martyr for the Russian cause did not come out of it. But that was a rehearsal. How to informatively promote the Ukrainian terrorist attack staged in Russia. After all, a lot of time has passed since the explosions of houses in Moscow, and Russia is no longer the same, and Ukraine is not Chechnya. Now they decided to try out the scheme completely, and Maxim, with the words, "Fuck it," blew up Nafig. Now a stream of tearful memories will flow. What a guy he was. By the way, and what? Yes, no, in general, a boring nonentity. Future dead heroes should, if possible, be deprived of bright charisma, being an empty place on which you can put a convenient idol.